I'll get clients that'll message me and say, okay, here's my workout schedule. I play pickleball for 3 hours in the morning. Then I walk my dog. And then in the afternoon, I take a Pilates class. And then at night, I do another walk with my dogs after dinner, but I'm not losing weight. Number one, that is the epitome of overtraining. I mean, it's great that you're so active and it's great your dogs are getting walked and it's great that you're, out there and doing your thing. But when your workouts or your activity level exceeds what your caloric intake is by that much, your body is basically like running on fumes at this point. And you've got to preserve whatever is left in that tank for you.
Live your best life while working on your health and fitness goals. We're here to make your journey fun and inspiring. Welcome to the V-Shred Better Body, Better Life podcast.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the V-Shred Better Body, Better Life podcast. I'm your host, Vince Sant, and today we have one of the guests that we've had on in the past back to talk about some more things. Today, we're going to be talking about overtraining and what it is and how to avoid it and what to do instead with one of our coaches, Stephanie. Stephanie is a mom. She is a lover of all things health and nutrition. She has her bachelor's in science and kinesiology and nutrition. She's NASM certified, and we're really excited to have you back. So welcome.
Awesome. I'm glad to be here. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit about, before we started rolling, just about everything overtraining. And just like what we wanted to cover. But for all of our listeners, like I said, we are going to be going over just what overtraining is. So let's just start there. What would you define overtraining as? And we'll go from there, actually.
Yeah. So, the basic principle of overtraining is basically as simple as it sounds, doing more than is absolutely needed to get you to your goals. And that could be, anywhere from, running too much or doing too much weight, or, taking too many classes each day. So it's the basic concept of just going overboard with what your body actually needs and what is healthy for your body in order to get to your goal.
And then, okay, so if it's just doing more than your body needs, how does somebody know that? Like, are there like specific signs that somebody should look out for? Because like, obviously if you're trying to get in shape, because honestly, like for everybody listening, overtraining probably happens a lot more than people realize. I think when people want to get in shape, they make that decision and they go, okay, I'm going to cut my calories. I'm going to go do cardio every single day, maybe doing like multiple workouts a day because they really just want to go like balls to the wall, 0 to 100 overnight. And what happens is they usually end up getting some results in the beginning, but then they probably will hit a plateau for a plethora of reasons. But what is something that, like, what are signs that somebody could look out for that would tell them that they might be overtraining?
Yeah. So what I see a lot of with my clients, especially people that just start the program, like you said, they're gung-ho. They're like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I've got a goal, whatever it is. But the main one I see first and foremost is usually number one is there is a major injury that happens right off the bat. They'll say, I started working out and I got injured. I twisted this, I did that. And then usually my next question is, well, what were you doing? And it's usually something that's, kind of out of their wheelhouse of working out. I went for a run and I haven't run in 30 years because I'm just 100%
and did
into
6 miles.
Yeah, like they're like, I did the Boston Marathon on my first week of shredded. Well, first I'm like, hey, it's super great that you are so motivated to go, but injury is one of the big things that happens in overtraining, and it's usually a combination of your body's not ready to do it yet, and also an issue of form. So, if you're starting a fitness program and right off the bat, I'm not saying like, oh, I was sore, you're going to be sore, obviously. But if there's an injury that's happening, that's like a hamstring pull or something like that, and you're doing more than is being prescribed to you by your coach to do, that's usually a sign of some sort of overtraining.
And how would you say, like, cause I'm thinking about like my own personal fitness journey, and I've probably definitely been guilty of overtraining at times, but there's also been times where I could get injured when I'm not overtraining. How would you say you find that, like, that balance of knowing like, okay, this injury was caused by like sometimes I just won't warm up properly, and then I go for a run or I lift and I end up like pulling something or straining something, or just something's extra sore the next day. Well, how would you say you find that balance?
Okay. I would say, like I always tell my clients, a lot of them are just getting into their fitness journey. And, for a person like you or a person like me who's a coach, we know the signs when our bodies give us a sign that we're pushing, but maybe we keep going because we know we can, or we'll say, well, I'm going to be sore, but I'm going to be okay. Um, but I always tell people it's important to listen to your body. Like as you go through this wellness journey, your body's going to start giving you signs. And like I said, obviously saying, "Oh, I woke up really sore. My hamstrings were hurting or my glutes were tight." I'm like, "Okay, well, that's great. That means that your body is reacting to the
Right.
workout.
You're hitting the right spots.
Yeah, you're hitting the right spot, and your body's giving you that message going, okay, this is great, but I'm in a little bit of pain. So maybe let's take, 48 hours off. Let's just focus on some stretching for the next 2 days.
Yeah.
You should start to feel better. That acid breaks down, and then we can start the process again. And like I always, my clients always tell me, I hope this gets easier. I'm like, it's not going to get easier. You're just going to get in better shape. And as you get in better shape, we can continue to push you along. But again, being pushed and overtraining are two completely different things.
I think that's important for people to understand, is that overtraining is one side of the spectrum. Doing nothing is the other side of the spectrum. But in the middle, there's a beautiful little, there's a fine line between overtraining and working out with intensity. Because I do think that people either aren't working out with much intensity at all, and they think they are, or then they're just kind of going through the motions. And when they go to the gym, they're doing their 3 sets of 10 and then they're going home. Or people are, like we said, going balls to the wall, and they're like really pushing themselves, going way too heavy, bad form. But how do we but there's a middle line is what you're saying there, where because you do need to work out with intensity. I actually literally just posted a video on my Instagram the other day where it was like POV, you started like actually challenging yourself and pushing to failure, and you actually started building muscle. How does somebody find that fine line of not overtraining, but working out with intensity?
Right. So for example, the examples of the two extremes. I'll get clients that'll message me and say, okay, here's my workout schedule. I play pickleball for 3 hours in the morning. Then I walk my dog. And then in the afternoon, I take a Pilates class. And then at night, I do another walk with my dogs after dinner, but I'm not losing weight. It's like, well, number one, that is the epitome of overtraining. I mean, it's great that you're so active, and it's great your dogs are getting walked, and it's great that you're, out there and doing your thing. But your body is basically like running on fumes at this point. And when your workouts or your activity level exceeds what your caloric intake is by that much, it's basically like, I always tell my clients, I'm like, if you're running low on gas in your car, you don't accelerate, right? You don't hit that gas and go.
And drive
what do
crazy,
you do? You
right?
turn off your AC, roll down the window, and you kind of like cruise until you get to that gas station, because you've got to preserve whatever is left in that tank for you. And, the overtraining, it's usually people that have a short-term goal to get to a wedding, a vacation, whatever it is.
And they started
and
too late, and now they're trying to make up for lost time.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone's mindset is, well, this should work. And like you said at the beginning, it does maybe in the first week, right? Your body will respond to everything that you're doing to it. But after that gas light is going to go on, that check engine light is going to go on in your body, and it's eventually going to shut down because it's preserving whatever energy it has left in it. And then the other extreme of that, like you were saying, with the just enough coaching, or not just enough workouts and correct form, is, I love to work out. So yeah, if I can do a 1 hour workout, I'm going to do it. But a lot of times I don't. So a 20 to 30 minute workout where I am really focused on my form, I'm in it. I'm like, okay, this is literally the only time I have to be, so I have to make it work. And once you start really getting into your correct form, like you can do lunges for an hour in bad form and not have any pain in your leg. You can do lunges for 20 seconds and doing them correctly, and your leg's going to be like completely shaking. So, and I'm also not putting my body in such a deficit of energy to where that gas light or that check engine light is going to go on.
Yeah, and I think that's a big piece that we should talk about is the nutrition side of things, because when somebody hears the word overtraining, obviously they're just really thinking about working out. They're thinking about whether it's home workouts or gym workouts, which obviously like here at B-Shred, we actually prioritize the home workouts just because I do believe that is more sustainable for most people. Most people don't love going to the gym. You and I are the weird ones. But when it comes to the nutrition side of things, they kind of leave that out when talking about overtraining, because I mean, the word overtraining literally has training in it. It's not over nutrition or under nutrition, And so how does nutrition play a role in overtraining, or how does nutrition play a role in preventing overtraining, I should say? So okay, how does it affect it negatively and how does it affect it positively? Let's go there.
Okay, so we'll go with the positive part first. Obviously, when you sign up for the program and when you get your meal plan, the macros that you're being given, I always tell my clients, the macros you're being given are based on what I want you to be doing right now, which is hitting your macros and getting in your 20 to 30 minute workout. Then clients will say, well, can I do more? I'm like, yeah, you can always do more. And it's great that you're so active. However, we need to take into account that, again, your macros are set for this much activity. If you're just doing a dog walk, or if you're doing a Pilates class, you're burning maybe an extra 200 to 350 calories, depending. It's not going to be the end of the world with that kind of deficit. But when I see people that have an extremely active lifestyle already naturally, or they're wanting to, continue to pile stuff on, that's when I have to say, well, hold on a second. Again, it's great. I'm always like, it's amazing that you want to do more, but let's start with this and see how you do. And I always tell my clients, 9 out of 10 times, you're going to see results with working out smarter. And again, if you want to pepper in your stuff, if you want to swap out a V-Shred workout for your pickleball, that's great. But you don't need to be playing 3 hours of pickleball. Bring it down to 1 hour, maybe get in your 20-minute strength workout, and you're going to see that you're going to have more time in your day to actually do other things versus just being like, I got to work out, I got to work out, I got to work out. And so, yeah, the positive side of nutrition with working out is that, and I was telling my clients, well, look, the more you do, also the more macros you get to take in, right? So it's like, hey, if you're going to be doing more, great, we can up your macros by this much more, but it's not about, spending 5 hours a day. And that ties into the negative part of it, which is a lot of people don't make that shift with their nutrition. They're like, well, I'm still going to be at 1,400 calories, but I'm going to be doing 5 hours of workout a day. And it's not going to work. And you will see your body stop and you will see your results come to a halt. And you're also most likely not only going to get injured, but your energy is going to go down and your just motivation is going to go down.
And cravings.
Yeah, your cravings are going to go up because you're going to be like, well, I got home from 3-hour workout and I just pigged out. It's like, well, yeah, because that's not what you're meant to be doing at this point.
Right. Yeah. And also like, then you account for like the types of workouts that you do. Some do trigger hormone, like hunger hormones. Some trigger it less. And so like if you're going on runs every single day, like the pickleball thing, I feel like people will do because it's enjoyable, but like the workout, going for a run or something, like most people don't love running, but they're running because they think they're supposed to be running. And so now they're doing something that they don't like doing, that doesn't burn a ton of calories, that is releasing a bunch of cortisol in their body. And so it's just not sustainable. And then they're probably starving themselves on the side anyways. And so they lose 5 pounds in 2 weeks, and then they stop losing weight and they wonder what's going on. And they just get in that cycle that it's like you said, the hamster wheel, of just like
Yeah.
overtraining or getting results. Well, overtraining and getting results, then hitting a plateau, then quitting, then gaining a couple pounds back, and then getting back on that wheel again. It's just over and over and over again. So how do people avoid that?
Yeah. So, and the hamster wheel is a great, analogy of it, because I'm like, hamsters, they can go all day on that dang wheel, but like, they're not losing weight. They're just doing it because, like you said, their brain is like, must run in a circle for an hour. It's like, well, okay, and like I always tell people, I'm like, if you're going to go for a run for like a mental break,
Right.
that's just your like way to
Yep.
get out of the house. Like, I'm a mom, I get it. I got to do my walk every single day and listen to my murder podcast, and like that's my thing. That's what gets me through the day. And I'm like, if you're going to go for a 20-minute run to clear your head and to get out of your house, go for it. Like, I totally get it. But like you said, the 60 minutes or more is not necessary. And, as far as how we break that cycle, it's trusting the success that is being given to you. I always tell my clients, look, we all get into our comfort zone when it comes to food and workouts, and we all want to do what we feel we need to do. But, I brought this up in our last podcast, like I'm a big Dr. Phil fan, and his thing is always, and how's that working for you? That's what he asks all of his guests. You've been doing the same thing all this time, and how's that been working for you? Obviously, not great, because you're here, right?
Right.
So let's try this new concept. And I was telling people, I'm like, just give it 1 week, like 1 week. Let's throw out all of your other workouts and food concepts and everything else. Let's try it the way it's laid out for you for 1 week and see how we do. And I would get a little pushback, and they're like, okay, I'm going to give it 1 week. And usually after their first check-in, they're like, okay, I feel better. I have more energy. I'm losing weight, and 5 hours of my day isn't taken up, on the hamster wheel.
Right. Yeah. And on that podcast, I don't remember if I said it, but I'm sure I did, because I'm a quote guy. Is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And that's exactly what's going on here. That's Dr. Phil's way of saying that is, well, how's that working for you? And that's why fitness companies are so busy around New Year's, because people do the exact same thing every single New Year's, and they're like, this is the year it happens. And they do the same thing, and then nothing happens. So what would you say are like some of the biggest like misconceptions around overtraining? Like, what are ways that people can avoid that, or what are the biggest things that people mess up when it comes to, like, if somebody's getting started today, what are some of the things they should look out for?
Number one, like I said, a serious injury, not just discomfort from work, starting a new program, but a serious injury, something where you're like, I'm basically at the doctor or the ER right now because I can't do anything else for the next few weeks. And that comes with as well listening to your body, really starting to, see how your body is reacting to things after maybe not doing activity for so long. Number two would be really taking a step back and being like, with everything I've been doing, thinking that that's the right thing to do. Have I had any results in the last 3 months? Look back at your track. I always tell people, I'm like, really focus on timelines, because everyone's always like, well, and I get clients who are like, I haven't lost any weight. And then I go back through all of their emails from the last, 3 weeks to 3 months to a year. And I'm like, well, look, we started here and we're here now. So there has been progress. There's just times of no progress, obviously.
It's just fluctuating, but the bigger picture.
Yeah. But the bigger picture, and I think part of the overtraining is like, with everything you've been doing, how has your progress actually gone in the last 90 days?
Yeah.
Like on your own.
Yep.
Are you down a few sizes? Are you down a few pounds? Is your energy up? Is your sleep better? No. Okay, then maybe it is time to consider a different approach.
Are you a big component of before and after pictures?
I am because, yeah. And, and I know a lot of clients, some people are just scared to share, or they're
Right.
private people. I'm like, look, that's fine, but take it for yourself, because, myself, I haven't really lost any weight in the last 9 years since I've had my daughter. But what has changed for me is my body composition. And I see it. When I look at pictures, I'm like, I'm probably within a pound or two than I am, than I was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
But my body composition, my clothing size has changed over time.
Your shape, your aesthetics, right?
There will be times when the scale won't move, and it could be a day, a week, a month, even longer. But is your body composition changing? Are you seeing that, like, okay, well, this roll doesn't exist anymore, or this belt can go 2 loops tighter. So, it's important, like you said, to look at the bigger picture and and like I always tell people, I'm like, track it. You need to track things in, 4-week intervals. How is this going? If it's working, if it's not working, if it's working, great. If it's not working, then let's move on.
So by tracking, you mean like kind of journaling? Because like normally when people think tracking, they're thinking like tracking calories, and that's usually all they're thinking about tracking. Maybe tracking their workouts. Maybe they're like, I've never been that person in the gym with a notebook writing down like what weight I did for each set. I cannot be bothered to do that. I have enough on my brain already. And I also have a pretty good understanding of training, and I also go by feel. And so like I'm not trying to be a strongman or a power lifter where I'm trying to increase weight that I can lift every single month, And so I've never been that type of person, but usually when I talk to people and I talk about tracking, I'm talking about dieting. You're recommending tracking when it comes to how they feel and how they look, and you're just talking about the whole picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I always tell my clients, I'm like, when you start this journey, obviously, your pictures are important, all that kind of stuff, but just track, even if it's just entering into your smartphone, into your notes section once a week. I slept better this week. I feel better, or I don't feel as great this week, or whatever it is, because you're going to see over time that new patterns emerge and that new results emerge. And, I think especially for women, for my male clients, it's usually more, linear. It's like, well, I had stress, with work or whatever, and this happened or that happened. But with women, we're talking about cycles.
Yeah.
We're talking about hormones. We're talking about all these different things. So I'm like, if you can track as much as you can, and it doesn't have to be, in an Excel spreadsheet. It could just be a couple of notes that you pop in at the end of the day into your notes section in your phone. When you look at it at the end of the week, you're going to be like, oh, wow. Like, okay, well, my weight didn't go down this week, but it's because, I started my cycle, or my kid was sick and I was up with them 3 nights and I didn't get sleep. So it's also important to sometimes look at the other influences that can happen into your life that aren't just, I didn't follow my plan and I didn't work out this week and that's why this happened. Well, no, sometimes even when you do follow your plan, you do get all your workouts in, things might still not budge that week, but it's important to look at everything going on around you and say, this might have been the reason why.
Right. So the mental side of things is how the physical and mental kind of intersect. Right. And then so like, what would you say is like the mental, like we've been talking about overtraining a lot. What would you say is like the main mental impact of overtraining on like your overall health and performance?
I think that the mental aspect of overtraining comes from a good place in your heart, which is, I want to hit my goal. Right? That's why we overtrain. It doesn't come from a bad place. It's because we really want to be that person that we see ourselves as, whatever your vision is for yourself in this journey. But there's better ways to get there. You don't have to take the Autobahn into your wellness goal. There's better ways to get there that are not only going to be safer, healthier, but they're also going to be more sustainable. And that's a big thing to understand. And I saw one of your Instagram posts the other day. And I think it was you and Jill, and she had all these bands on her legs and she's jumping in and out of the rope, and she's like, oh, I've got this wedding in 2 weeks. I'm like, I've got to get this done. And it's like,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it happens to me too.
I mean, it happens to everybody. Like if I have a vacation coming up, I'm going to dial it in a little bit, but that doesn't mean the other 50 weeks of the year I'm just eating like crap and I'm not working out. I'm still going normal routine all the time, but if I want to dial it in a little extra the couple weeks leading up to something, I will.
Exactly. And and that's my point. It's like that need to make this, to hit your goal comes from a good place. It comes from your inner self saying, let's do this. But the way to get there, and not just to get there, but to stay there, is not going to be through a drop everything and, put on the garbage bag suit and go run in the sun for an hour each day. Like it's not, it'll get you there, but it won't keep you there.
Right.
And you'll probably,
it's like a wrestler cutting weight.
Yeah. And, I used to, when I was living in Florida, I worked at a gymnastics facility. That was my first job. I was a coach for 7 years, and my manager was a team fitness model. And we would see it. You would see the times when she wasn't training, she would put on weight and she'd be the happiest person in the world. But then when she started to get ready for a competition and cut, it was like, oh my word.
Yeah, they fluctuate a crazy amount.
It was crazy. And you could see her moods going up and down, and it affected her health at the end of the day. And she did for years. So like you said, and me, I live in Cabo San Lucas. I live in Mexico. I'm 2 minutes from the beach. At any weekend, a beach day could pop up, so it's not like, it's like, oh, hey, we're going on vacation in 2 weeks. Oh, it's okay. I have time to dial it in. It's like, oh, we're all going to the beach tomorrow. It's like,
you got to stay ready.
Okay. I got 24 hours to get ready for this. Yeah. And that's, if you make it sustainable, and like you said, yeah, you're going to go up, a few pounds, ounces here and there, whatever, but it's all about making it there in a safe way, and then staying there. And overtraining does not facilitate that in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And it's, I've always said, like, the whole like fitness competitor aspect is like, it's quite, it's funny because like these are supposed to be health and fitness people, and then what they're doing is like the opposite of healthy. It's fitness for sure. Maybe it should just be fitness people, not health and fitness people, because man, they are destroying their hormones and messing up their bodies, and a lot of them are pumping themselves with stuff that is not good for them. And then, yeah, I mean, like, I've never seen anyone fluctuate more than like a true like professional competitor, and it's wild to see. Like, we'll shoot with somebody who's a couple weeks out and they look incredible, and then literally 2 months later, they've put on, like, not even kidding, 30 pounds. It's wild. And that just shows you what happens when you don't take a sustainable approach, because those getting a fitness prep, like a bodybuilder prep, is not sustainable. Like, that is something that you can do for maybe 4 months max, right? And staying at that low, like, when people are like, I want to be single digit body fat. And it's like, well, I mean, depending on where you're starting from, that might be really difficult, and it might be a long journey to get there. And I'm telling you from personal experience, staying in single digit body fat percentage is a very difficult thing. Like, and sometimes it's not super enjoyable. If my life wasn't being a fitness person, I'm not sure I would be single digit body fat all the time. Like, I have this external motivation constantly that in a job that allows me to prioritize my fitness. Most people are not able to put in the amount of time that I put in because my work allows me to do that, right? That's part of my job. And so, like, I think making sure that you're setting actual, like, realistic goals for yourself, and being kind to yourself and giving yourself grace when you are going through that process is also a huge piece of this. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. And I always tell my clients, you have to speak kindly to yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that, like, there's going to be times where it's going to be 1 step forward and 2 steps back.
Yep.
And I went through it.
It happens to me every month.
I gained 60 pounds when I was pregnant, because I knew it was probably going to be my first and last pregnancy. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
I'm going to be that big lady. Like, I don't care. Like, my husband was like, and I was like, let me live. And he was like, okay. And I had my daughter. And then I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done to myself?
Really?
Like, how am I going to get this weight off? And I gave myself a year.
Okay.
And
I want to stop you right there. That's phenomenal of you. I forget who I was just talking to about this. I think it was actually Felicia on a previous episode talking about how much time you need to give yourself to get back from pregnancy, because these women like celebrities who are having children are being glorified for getting back to incredible shape 4 weeks after they had a baby. And it's like, that's not realistic for most people. Like, that's not going to happen. Like she was saying, I forget exactly what the timeline was, but I think she said it takes like 6 months, 6 to 12 months to get like your hormones back to where you need to be, to get your ab separation to come back in. And that's if you're doing everything correctly, which most people are not.
Yeah. I mean, my daughter was a C-section, so I already lost, 3 months after she was born, because I was my whole,
you're out of commission.
Was like ripped apart. I had diastasis recti. I don't think I ever had postpartum, but my daughter was not a good sleeper, so I wasn't getting any sleep. And then just your hormones kind of acclimating to everything, your mind acclimating to everything, and being okay with who you are in that moment and saying, okay, this is where I am, but I know I can get back there, but I'm going to give myself time because I want to stay there. And I literally, all I could do for the first 4 months was walk. That's all I could do. I couldn't do anything else but walk. And I walked every day and I journaled it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start, eating this now and turning to this now. And I had the pressure of everyone going, so like, how's it going? You feel ready to do this again? And I'm like, no, I'm not. And literally on her first birthday that we had here in Cabo, I was back in a bathing suit. I was feeling good about myself. I still wasn't 100%. I was at probably like 85%. But mentally, I was like
85%, you mean like confidence-wise 85%? Or what do you mean? Okay.
Yeah, I was 85. I was 85% of where I knew I could be and I should be, but I was okay with that because I was like, I feel good. I'm back in clothes I was wearing before. And most importantly, I knew at that point that I could sustain it.
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, this is sustainable. And, I had people saying, oh, you can do this workout and that workout. And I did not overtrain. I knew that walking was going to be my biggest friend at that point in my life because it was really all I could do. It took me a year. I would tell moms, I'm like, you put the weight on in 9 months.
Yeah.
Like, how do you expect it to come off in 2 months?
That's exactly what we were saying.
And then add on top of that everything else happening in your body, in your life. Like, forget it. It's not going to happen.
Yep.
So great. Talking kindly to yourself and making a realistic timeline of how you're going to get there and when you're going to get there.
Yep. And obviously I'm not a mom, and I never will be a mom. But I do say this when it comes to people just losing weight in general. Like, it's like if somebody's 100 pounds overweight, they didn't gain 100 pounds in 3 months. And so they're not going to lose 100 pounds in 3 months. And so they have to be patient with themselves. And like you said, most importantly, they need to find a sustainable approach that, like I always say, hey, in the first, especially the first month, if not the first couple of months, don't even worry about if you're getting results or not. Just worry about doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. If you just are checking the boxes every single day and you're not worried about the results, because the results can mess with your brain sometimes, because like you said, progress is not linear. And from what you said, especially not for your female clients, you're going to fluctuate. Your weight's going to fluctuate. Your mood's going to fluctuate. How easy you find your routine is going to fluctuate. And so if you're just constantly focused on getting better and better results and the scale getting lower and lower every single day or every single week, some weeks it's not going to get lower. Some months it might not get lower. But if you're just focused on checking those boxes every single day and you're celebrating those wins of checking those boxes every single day, now all of a sudden you're changing your lifestyle. You're people always say it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Well, when you're running a marathon, you don't focus on the 26.2 miles. You focus on the first 5K, or you focus on the first 5 mile or the first mile, or you just focus on getting to the first energy station, and then once you get there, you're like, okay, what's my pace looking like? And you adjust from there, And so I think that's huge to say. And then I did want to touch on one more thing before we hop off here is rest, because like we've talked a lot about how overtraining is bad and how you want to find that middle ground. How does rest play a role in avoiding overtraining? Because obviously like rest has almost been vilified, you know, where it's like people are like no days off. They're like team no rest days or whatever. And I'm like, you're an idiot if you think that. Like, you have to have rest days. You have to have days off. Like even the pro bodybuilders, they have days off, you know, and maybe it's an active rest day. Like how does rest day play a role, and what are the different kinds of rest days that someone could have?
Yeah. So I myself am a huge believer in active rest days. You know, I think for a lot of people, like you said, that are just getting into this, it's important to create a routine, and it's important to get into a groove of like, okay, this is what it's like. You get up in the morning, you know, you make your bed, you go make your coffee, like you have your morning routine that sets you up for the day. When you are entering into a wellness journey, getting a routine going or a groove going is super important. And so I always tell my clients, active rest is important because you're still mentally checked into some sort of wellness thing to do that day. It doesn't need to be, you know, doing Jacob Platter for an hour or like you said, going for a run.
Yeah, explain active rest for us just for a sec.
Yeah. So active rest, when you take your rest day, right, you're not doing your scheduled workout that day, whether it's strength training or cardio, whatever it is, but you are doing something that is still keeping your body moving to some extent, and just keeping you checked into, I'm still here. It's not a day to just bum off the couch. And those days are needed, and we'll get to that in a second. But active rest day, for example, is popping in your, you know, a yoga person that you follow on YouTube and maybe doing like a 20-minute yoga video. It could be a day where you take your dog for a good hike. It could be a day where maybe you clean your house, right? I mean, 30 to 45 minutes of doing all this stuff, you're still moving. It could be a day where you go take, you know, your Zumba class at your community center and meet up with your friends and do your thing. So it's a day where you're not doing your scheduled, you know, get into it, workout, but you're still doing something to keep your body moving. And I think for me, that's a mental accountability for me. Like, okay, today is my rest day, but I'm still going to do something where I'm moving. Maybe I don't break a sweat doing it, but I'm still checked into that process I'm in.
Right.
As for a complete rest day, those are sometimes needed. For example, I'll get clients messaging me saying, oh, you know, I've had the flu this week, but I'm still going to try to get, I'm like, no. Listen, this is, your body needs to rest. So take this rest, like take 2-3 days off, just listen to your body and rest. Obviously, if if I have a client who's sore, someone's like, oh my gosh, you know, my legs are killing me, my arms are killing me. Hey, you know what? Take the day off. Like, it's totally okay. And this is something that comes throughout this journey, is really starting to, like I always say, I'm always like, listen to your body, listen to it. What is it telling you to do? Is it telling you, I could do a little more today? Okay, go take that walk, go take that class. Or is it telling you, like, I'm tapped, you know? And sometimes those days are just as important as anything else to just say, but it's also not a day to throw everything out the window. Right. It's not a day to say, well, I'm taking a rest day, so I'm going to eat whatever I want today, and I'm not going to do anything.
Right.
No.
Yeah. Especially not that. Especially not eating whatever you want on your rest day. That's about the worst thing you could do.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes it can turn into this snowball of like, well, I'm not doing anything, and I deserve this day, and I deserve this, and I deserve that. It's like, well, yeah, but if you're in pain, go dip in some Epsom salt, put the Bengay on, and take the day off.
Mm-hmm.
But if you feel like you can do something that day, you know, then do it. But again, just listen to your body.
Yeah. And for me, I've always found that like Like when I have rest days, I generally, because I am working out 6 days a week and I'm also like training for races, like I don't really like to use my routine as examples for most people because I don't think it's sustainable I wouldn't recommend my routine to most people, you know. But on my rest days, I also like if I'm trying to do an active rest day, I'm also trying to incorporate a type of activity that I truly enjoy. Or that needs to get done, like you said, like cleaning or something. That way I'm not even like considering it as like a workout. Like you said, like pickleball.
Right.
Like pickleball, like I'm a huge sports person. Like I love competing in any way possible. And so like literally just this past weekend, I was playing spike ball in my backyard for like 2 or 3 hours. And I wasn't like drenched in sweat, but my heart rate was up a little bit. I was sweating a little bit and I didn't even realize the time was passing. We literally had to stop because it got dark out. Like that's how much fun we were having. And so like that's a super active day where I burned some calories and I stayed on top of like, even though I didn't work out that day, I still did something, but I didn't feel like, because I think that's important for some people to understand is that like sometimes people are not going to enjoy workouts, you know, and maybe it's going to take a little bit of time for you to really get like accustomed to working out consistently. And so when you're trying to have an active rest day, it's really important to find a way to be active where you don't feel like it's a chore, you know, because some workouts do feel like chores. And so I've always found that like if I'm doing something like walking my dog, I find really enjoyable. Sports, I find really enjoyable. And so like there's certain things that I don't even consider like an activity. I mean, it's an activity, but I don't consider it like a workout at all because it truly is an enjoyable way for me to pass the time.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, that could be, you know, going down to the beach with your family and, you know, walking down a little bit and looking for seashells, like whatever it is. I always tell people, I'm like, especially at the beginning of this journey, the more you can create routines, even mental ones, which are even more important because a lot of this process is mental. And as long as you can keep yourself going in a safe, efficient, and sustainable way, then yeah, like whatever you associate with activity, but disassociate with working out.
Yeah. There you go.
Important.
That's good. And then, okay, I know I said that was gonna be the last thing, but this is the last thing. Rest when it comes to, or sleep when it comes to like what rest is. So like, obviously like sleep is a huge part of getting in shape and recovery. But again, I feel like sleep has kind of been made an enemy in today's society, especially by younger kids who are like, sleep is for the wicked, or I'll sleep when I'm dead, or whatever they're saying. And I was kind of like that when I was younger too. Like when I was in my like late teens and early 20s, I was in my party days and I wasn't really probably sleeping that much. Whereas like, as I got into my later 20s, now in my 30s, it's like, yeah, I'm prioritizing sleep every single night. Otherwise, I know the effect that it has on my body and I know the effect that it has on my brain. And so like, I'm not trying to deal with either of those things. What would you say is like, how much would you prioritize sleep to somebody listening?
I mean, that's one of the major things that I ask my clients whenever they're, especially at the beginning of their journey. And if they're not having success and they're saying their energy is down, that's usually the first thing I ask is like, how is your sleep? What is your sleep schedule? What is your sleep routine? When I was a kid, I would put myself to bed. My parents were like, you just come out and be like, good night. Yeah. And I'm still that way till this day. Like I'm in bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock at the very.
Oh my gosh. So you're an early riser then.
Yeah. But like even on the weekend, you know, it'll be like 10:30 and I'm like, what? I guess
Grandma
like,
Stephanie.
Unless I have something planned. I am Grandma Stephanie. I totally am. And like, I got the Oura ring for Christmas.
Oh yeah.
So now like, so now I track my, like every morning I wake up, I'm like, oh, okay, let's see, what is my readiness level? What is this? What is that? But it's the first thing I ask, like, how are you sleeping? And it's usually if they're having issues with their long-term journey and their energy, they'll usually say, I haven't been sleeping well, or I've been traveling, or, you know, kids have been sick, or whatever it is. And, you know, I know that we can't all get 8 hours of sleep a night, you know, just like we all can't have 3 square meals a day. Like it's okay to be out of the norm. Like I have a lot of clients that are shift workers, nurses, police officers, and they're like, my shift starts at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and I get home at 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, yeah, obviously we can't all fit into this one box. But the biggest thing is quality of sleep. Like when you are sleeping, are you in true rest and rest?
Yep.
And there's a lot of great ways to track this now. And, for a lot of people, I'm like, I know this sounds really silly, but getting into a routine, like that's what I love about my ring. Like at 8 o'clock, it'll tell me on my phone,
time to start winding down.
Your bedtime is an hour, time to start winding down.
Yeah.
And you know what? We're adults, right? But it's nice to have that reminder, just like I tell my daughter, hey, you've got 45 more minutes. So, let's start getting ready for bed. So I would tell people, I'm like, if you can get into some sort of wind down routine, whether it's, listening to a podcast, whether it's even watching just 15 minutes of a show. I know they say, well, you shouldn't have your TV on. I'm like, well, I fall asleep with the TV on sometimes. It's just the way it is. Drinking some sleepy time tea, whatever it is, doing a meditation, reflecting on your day. Because even if you're getting 5-6 hours of sleep, if that timeline of sleep is good, that's all you need.
Yep.
But it's all about the quality because, like I said, when you wake up, if you haven't had a good night's sleep, you're going to be exhausted. Your energy is going to be down. Your hormones and your cortisol are going to be out of whack. And one of the things I always tell my clients is you need to be careful because tiredness masks itself quite often as hunger. And that's happened to me. I notice that when I don't get good sleep, the next day I'm like, oh, I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry. I'm like, but then I'm like, am I hungry or am I just tired and my body's looking for weight? Like, yeah, just take a nap. So I'm always like, you need to watch out for the signs that you are running on fumes, especially, and one night won't do it. Maybe 2 nights in a row won't do it. But if you do find that you're someone that has perpetual sleep issues or, isn't getting good sleep on a regular basis, it's something to really look into because it has a bigger effect than you even realize at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I love what you said about the quality thing. Cause like I also wear my Oura ring every single night. I only take it off for workouts. And that's just cause I don't like it being in the way of like grabbing a barbell or whatever. But like some nights, like let's say it's a weekend and I got nothing to do on Sunday morning or whatever. And I was in bed for 10.5 hours, but I only slept, I don't know, 6.5, 7 hours of those. So like it gives you a sleep score. And this is not a promotion of Oura, although Oura, if you want to sponsor us, we're open to it. But my sleep score is way lower than if on a day when I got 6 or 7 hours, but I got 35% of that was REM sleep and 30% of that was deep sleep. My sleep score is in the 80s or 90s versus if I'm getting if I only got, 30 minutes of REM over that 10 hours that I was in bed, my sleep score is going to be down in the 50s or 60s and I'm going to feel it, And so that quality I think is a good point.
Yeah. Super important. And like I said, we all don't fit into the box of I work from 9 to 5. I get in 3 meals a day and I sleep 8 hours a night. But that's not realistic for the majority of us. So whatever your reality is, you need to make it work within that reality for you. Right.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to all of a sudden be a salesman, but if anybody's listening to this and they're wanting to work with a coach, like that's about the best type of advice you can get right there, where it's like, if you have a specific type of routine where you feel like it's different from everybody else's and it adds these extra complications to sticking to a fitness goal, like hitting a fitness goal and sticking to a workout plan, sticking to a nutrition plan, working with a coach is about the best thing that you can do because it's completely customized. There's tons of good workout programs out there, but it's up to you to make it work for your life versus when you have a coach who is customizing everything to you and making adjustments based on how much time you have to work out each day, fueling yourself properly depending on the time of the day that you're working out and what you're doing with your workout, how your body is responding to what you're eating and how you're training. On the go stuff, like you said, traveling is like probably one of the toughest parts of getting in shape, even for myself. I don't work out like I should on my on my travel days. I don't eat like I should on my travel days. It's tough for everybody. And if your life is if you're somebody who travels a lot, that's just going to make it even harder. And so having somebody there to answer questions, to help you with recommendations is huge.
Yeah, it adds a challenge element. So like I tell my clients, it doesn't make it impossible. It just makes it a little bit more challenging. And I have clients that travel a lot, and one of the things that I always bring up to them, because they're like, well, I'm in a hotel, 10, 12 nights a month. I'm like, well, most places in the US right now are required to have the nutritional value on their menu. So ask for it, like look into it. And then they're like, oh, cool, I can track my macros now, even when I'm eating out, because I can see, for the most part, what the nutritional value is. So just little tips like that, like you said, when you're working with a coach, sometimes we think of stuff that maybe you can't think of because, you're in it. You're just so used to like going through the motion, of whatever your work or travel schedule is, that when you have someone kind of doing the thinking for you, going, well, why don't you ask them for this? Or why don't you look into this? And they're like, oh, I didn't even think about that.
Two brains is generally going to be better than one.
Generally, yeah.
Generally. But cool. I think that pretty much wraps up everything that I wanted to go over. Is there anything else that you would add on top of it before we hop off here?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, the overtraining idea, it comes from a good place, right? We all want to get to our goals, but how you get there and how long you can stay there once you get there is an aspect that is not going to be part of your overtraining. So really looking at this as a long-term goal, really looking at this as a journey, and, not hitting that chicken break every time you feel like you want to level up on your fitness, will be better for you in the long run, and it'll keep you where you want to be longer as well.
Yeah. Sustainability over quick results.
Yep.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you being on here with us. Learned a lot. This was a nice long episode where I think we covered just about everything there is to cover overtraining wise. Talked on the mindset, the physical, the nutrition side of things. So yeah, I appreciate your insight. And we got other episodes with Stephanie in the past. And then we also have another episode coming up soon where we're going to be diving into like the cultural aspect of nutrition. And so that'll be a good one for anybody who's struggling with maybe thinking that, oh, the way that my family eats is way different and these rules don't apply to me. And so we're going to be diving into that. So appreciate you being here, and talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
But before we wrap up, if anybody out there is looking for some extra help with getting back on track and trying to lose weight or achieving whatever your fitness goals are, we do have certified personal trainers, certified coaches who are available and eager to create a customized plan for you based on your body. And our trainers have already helped hundreds of thousands of men and women to lose weight, tone up, build strength, get healthier, feel better, look better. And we're ready to work with you as well. And this is something where we'll figure out everything for you. We'll do all the calculations, figure out all the macros, the calories, what foods to eat, what foods to avoid, when to work out, what those workouts look like. And so if you guys want to get more details on that, just check out the link in the description below. I know you will absolutely love it. But thank you again for tuning in today, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of V-Shred's Better Body, Better Life podcast. Whether you're doing one of our programs, taking our supplements, or just doing things on your own, tune in every week for exclusive content with Vince, V-Shred trainers, and special guests as they share valuable tips around motivation, workouts, food, and living a healthier lifestyle. See you next time.